with Conscious Conversation Central, and I'm with Lisa Flamino Rush and BZ Rieger again for this evening. It is Monday, March the 19th, 2018, and this time we actually do have a topic.
I wonder if we'll stick to it.
Yeah, really, right?
But we had a good time playing with the not thinking of the topic we had topic last time.
Yes.
Well, we just, we float like that.
We do.
But this time we're going to talk about loving yourself. Do you truly love yourself?
Yes.
How to recognize when you don't fully, and how to play with allowing yourself to fall in love with yourself again, which I'm really actually very keen on talking about this for several reasons. Partly for me because love is a very charged word for me personally, and I'm sure for others, as everyone has their own definition of what love is, and I got a feeling almost all of them are wrong, or all of them are right. Either way you want to look at that. But also because, as we know, I have trouble with smarmy, the old ego. And when one talks about loving oneself, there's always that might come up, or at least for me, it feels like it might come up. Where does smarmy fit in that or not? And the allowing of yourself to be in love with yourself and what that might look like. I mean, this is all very new for me, really.
Well, think about all of the programming, indoctrination, scripting. It's in everything. It's in school. It's in, love yourself. What? You can't love yourself. What? You're not that great. What are you loving yourself? I mean, it's all those kinds of things. And it's tied in with the whole self-esteem and feeling small and being small. And one of the reasons that I was nudged to bring this up as a possible thing to play with is because with the energy so expansive now, and they're coming from us, so we're the ones who are making them expansive, right? And the whole metaphor of the bucket, and all of us filling in and the stuff that's not a match to that. So we talked about in the river of love and all that kind of stuff flowing out.
Mm-hmm.
There's many of different beings who've talked about the event and all the hype around that, and everything that's not a match to love, will all be left behind, pushed away, shaved off. Be a lot of buzz cuts going on. So that's why this would be fun to play with. And that's the way I hold it, because I myself was brought up to never be good enough. I was never good enough. And a lot of signature, I say facetiously, charming phrases that, used to play in my head all the time that I was told regularly. So I won't bother giving those energy and bringing them back. But so the whole idea of loving myself, I remember the first time I read a little bit of an inkling of that in some self-help sort of book was probably when I was 18 or 19, and I was shocked. I thought, really? I mean, this is something that you actively do, and it's okay, and it's in a book. Wow. And I don't mean that in any way. I mean, I was deadpan serious about it. It was right up there with you do the best you can. And, that was, huh?
She said.
So that was interesting. And it took me, I don't remember, a number of years, I'll say, to play with just that idea, to maybe play with it a little bit, to read about it some more, to maybe be attracted to a workshop here and there that might have some part of that component in it, but really kind of skirting around a cursory thought of it. And that was a lot for me. That was a big deal. And as I was playing with it, I noticed that I wasn't the only one who was like that. In fact, the workshops or sections of them, or the books on the bookshelf with chapters in them, were quite numerous, and they were quite well selling, and so that gave me a pretty good indication. Came from a family in television, and then my brother was in publishing, so I knew actually how you could gauge, the readership versus sales and this, that, and the other thing. And so there was a lot of commas and zeros, just from a linear level.
Right.
And so after many years of just kind of toying with the idea, I realized that it was much more approachable for me. And I realized I could start to see all the things that I couldn't avail myself of, that I truly could not partake in, that I could not in any way, in a real sense, not just a cursory, indoctrinated, false construct, sort of way, I want to say be part of, live, lots of different phrases come to mind, without this component. And I'm not a cart before the horse, so I may have realized kind of simultaneously before and after that the whole idea of the battle within and coming to a simpatico relationship and partnership with my ego was never going to happen if the idea of loving myself was not fully, wholeheartedly, on every fiber of my being and all my bodies, mental, emotional, embraced. It just wasn't going to happen. So I did it. And from the teeniest, eentiest, winsiest bit of of loving myself and all that, all the way to absolutely full throttle. And one thing that's interesting here is that oftentimes when people, they may not fully think of it themselves, but their ego will jump in. If you love yourself, you're full of yourself. You think too much of yourself. All those kind of egoic, smarmy, nasty, little vindictive slights slide in as a way to justify doing it. But because when you even begin to play with or voice with or dance even on the cursory edges of the whole thought, and I'm not talking about the book or anybody else, I'm talking about within your being, of loving yourself and allowing love in. And I don't mean, again, love from an external source. Here I'm talking about letting yourself love yourself. So yourself, soul, love yourself. That is that connection that's always there. But we, do whatever we can to chainsaw it, hack it, burn it up, blow it up, run it over, whatever it is, to try to break that connection and to break the connection, run as far as we can in the other way, shooting bullets over our shoulder at source and love. So they really are all of the same. And that's what I'm talking about, loving, when I hold it, it's loving yourself. So the self that's here, and then all of the selves, and the soul, and then source. So it's kind of, the whole love buffet. And it's not love the way I now feel it, know it, sense it, experience it, is not love from what we humans portray it as.
Well, so for me, that makes it that much harder, because I'm very well aware that I have a very skewed idea of the word love. I'm sure most of us do. We all have our own stories of abuse, or whether it be familial, spousal, self, whatever, it's there. And so
societal, yep.
Yes, and
any and all of the above.
There you go.
Exactly.
Simultaneously.
Yes. And so one person's definition of love is completely different from another. And it could be, like I said, even in the same family.
But the feeling of the full colorful, vibratory, resonant feeling of love, which is an energy frequency, is palpable and noticeable. And that's one of the things that scares us as we're starting to dance with it the most, because, well, you've seen it and you've done it right on camera, Sheila, where you've been on what you call that precipice, and you feel it, that the enormity, the all-encompassing, all-engulfing, just the crescendo of the welling up in every fiber cell of your being, in every color and every note in the symphony of all that is, flows into your body, just brushing by at 52 million light years away, is pretty wow, knock your socks off.
Well, and you know what, until you just said that, because it started welling up in me again, but until you just said that, I didn't realize, I don't think, until just this now moment, that that's what I was feeling. Because that's not
sad.
Huh?
Sad.
Well, no, I mean, that's not that. I didn't equate that to love. And that's what I mean.
It's the frequency of what that is you're just barely a couple 100 million light years away, because if you got any closer, if it was given to you any closer right this moment,
melt,
you would explode in bliss, but still be exploding. So maybe
exploding nonetheless.
But that's what you're feeling, what you're getting a glimpse of. So on all of your sensory is the frequency of love. That's what you're feeling.
Well, okay. So until I had that, and that hasn't been until recently, then in all of my 56 years, I've never experienced that in any way, shape, or form. And therefore, that I can recall. And so much so that I didn't even have a name. Now, when you said I did it on camera, you're talking about a couple of those lives I did while we were in Knoxville, aren't you?
Yeah, and even before that, there was one where the first one and the most striking one for me, from a reading of the energy of it and the most exciting one, because it was the first one that that I'd seen. I haven't known you very long, but was when you were realizing and recommitting to your part of your mission.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you felt that for the very first time. And, someone looking at it could just say, well, she was just crying or something. But there were moments that if you freeze framed them in that particular video, there were moments where the awestruckness, if that's such a way to describe it, on your face, and as your eyes open, and the color that changed within all of you as you felt that was simply sublimely delicious. To watch you flow with that, to even though you didn't understand it, it was gobsmackingly delicious, and just to watch, to see it come in and flow in and envelop you, surround you, and fill your entire being.
I guess that's what I get, not confused, but because I've never had that. So how does one, we're talking here about loving yourself, and if that's the kind of love.
Well, let's play with it for a minute. So, because
I mean, that's not something that's taught, by the way.
Well, of course not. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? No. Anybody who would do that would be shot dead immediately. And I'm not saying that in any way joking at all, because can you imagine if everybody felt that all the time? They knew that, they were connected to that, they were that. That's, you are love, be love. Well, hell, you wouldn't need prisons, you wouldn't need courts, you wouldn't need 99 and 9/10% of everything that's crap around here that we've got, that we're in this mess, and that's what's all unfolding and unwinding and unbinding right now. So the simple way to do it, okay, it's excruciatingly difficult sometimes, but the simple way to do it, I'll share some of the ways that I went and played with it. And the very first time that I fully felt it, okay, from 52 million light years away, right, and knew it for what it was absolutely sublimely knock your socks off, blow you over backwards, and just lay prostrate on the ground for a couple months, kind of a thing. Which is why some people may describe, the hyped event as something like that.
Yeah.
So there are it's funny that even still having this conversation now makes more and more and more heart expansion within myself flow.
Yay!
So there are forms, examples, connections. Not sure of the right way to pull it down into linear speak, but that would be a very, 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 very pale expression, example, analogy for the frequency of love. Okay? But they are there. So I had the same thing. Now remember, I've always been very left brain and very right brain, and never had a large ego in the sense of stomping on others with the ego, but of the battle in between. Oh yeah, you bet. I mean, a master warrior battling me. So I asked the same question, or the lower mind asked the same question. Well, what is that? And if it's so great, well, how come we don't have it? And how do we find it? And so on and so forth. So I started to play with it. And one of the things that I would look at was, is that of love? Just that phrase. Is that of love? So it was something that was a tape going on in my head, an interaction with myself, an interaction with somebody else, an example, a cartoon, a TV show, or whatever it was, anything, right? And I would just say, is that of love? And I set aside a moment, a definition, a knowing, or whatever of love, but there was something in the energetic of that phrase, is that of love, that let me put all of the, that my mind could think to death, because that wasn't going to get me there, right? To that. And so I could slowly use that to adjust my frequency set point to, at least, that's definitely not of love. So, okay, but that's good. That helped me sort and winnow. And then I would do things where I would have rampages of what would feel close to being of love. Because as I started to play with this and had this journey, remember, I just kind of danced around the edges for many years. So that was now I know that everybody can do it much shorter, and you can absolutely do it in the blink of an eye now with the energies. But that's what it took me at that time. And this was, I was 18 and I'm 54. So do the math, however many years ago that was. And so I would then play with, okay, well, what might feel like love? So if there was a color that was particularly pleasing, and maybe it was a particular flower with a particular color and a particular hue, and the way that the textures and the shimmer, maybe there was a raindrop or a dewdrop or whatever, and I would just be with that as this example, because I can remember doing this particular one, that flower. And that to me was a much closer representation, in a pale way, of what love was. Because there are no constraints on love. You don't have to do anything to be or feel or have or partake in or the connection of love. So this flower, just in this moment, was this being that was these things. And in the purity of that, the purity of the color, the richness of the pigment within the leaves, the miracle of the seed. So all of that. And I could feel that. Another one, if you like animals, is, a kitten purring on your lap. There's something just purely, and again, it's the frequency of the mechanism of the purring in the throat that actually changes your frequency vibration. That's why kids love kittens, cats purring, because of that. So, well, that was clearly, this, go back to that phrase, is that of love? Well, yeah, that was. When the cat turns around and scratches you, is that of love? No, not so much. So again, so it was all of these ways, and I could then, because I'm in the dark. I know that I don't have it. I know that I don't feel it. I have a knowing that it will change everything, and I have no idea how to get there. But that's part of the whole thing. Because when you are source, and you are your soul, and you are an eternal being, you are love and you be love. So if you're going out, right, and a trajectory out to know source, knowing source, right, then a really cool way to do that, because your creator being is to play to the nth degree, is to get to a place where you're on the physical planet and you're in this particular incarnation, you're doing this thing and you don't know what it is, you're in the dark, you can't feel it, you don't know it. In fact, everything around you absolutely shows you in a very distinct, demonstrable, declarative, okay, incredibly painful ways that's not of love, and that's not of love, and that's not. So it's one of those things where if you can see what this is not, then you can start to bring it close to what is. And so that's part of the journey. That's part of the going all the way out to the furthest that you can. And then because that call is always within you, because that love is always within you, that love is always being beamed down, beamed in, being surrounded. It's in every fiber cell, every isness of your isness. Mm-hmm. And so you reach back into that, and everybody will do it in different ways. I'm just giving you a little bit of how I would do it. So the phrase was, is that of love? Yes or no? And how, or why, or, sort and cover, and, and then that would, that was interesting, because that would make me gravitate more to the things that were not in the is not of love pile. So if it's in the is not love pile, okay, stay away from that, go over here. Well, that would bring more things out. And if I notice, what feels like it might be what love is, or if I was to even though I have no idea and I don't know and I'm in the dark, and these were the conversations that I would have, what feels like it would be love? Well, the kitten purring, or the flower, or the this, or a particular feeling that I got in a conversation with somebody or something. So again, I was just, as you would say, Sheila, collecting the puzzle pieces. So I was connecting the dots, and they were all energetic dots, and I was feeling. And so I would winnow and sort. And so, okay, all those things that were not, okay, move them here. So relationships change, this change, these things change, or I would, in certain things I would go along to get along over there, but the rest of the time I would spend my time expanding in different ways over here. And I really worked at it, because I did have, after those number of years, having the knowing but nothing else, mm-hmm. Not a feeling about it, just a knowing, like you might hear an echo, or you think you hear something, or you think you see something, but it, so burying the shadows in the dark. But I knew if I could play with it, if I could get there, it was worth it to me, in all the distractions and the misdirections and all the everything, to keep playing with that, to keep moving forward, whatever that looked like, however I could do it. And I remember distinctly that tapes in my head before I went to bed, and when first thing I woke up in the morning, were of such a predominant frequency, and they were not a high vibration frequency, because of the way that just was my life. And I had the thought, okay, well, that doesn't fit with, wanting to expand our frequency vibration, and that certainly isn't of love, and I got to winnow it, but I'm right here and I'm going to sleep, and it's, nattering away in my head.
Right.
So I would just start to for me to say I love myself, that was really hard, because it was unheard of, and you think too much of yourself, and yada yada. We already talked about that. So I would just whisper, and it was an audible whisper of, it's of love. Because that's safe. The ego could quiet down, because I'm not saying I love me. I'm not saying
right.
I'm love.
Right.
I'm not saying I accept love. I would just say it's of love. So that's safe, right? Because there's no battle there, right? And these are the things I had to do.
And to work around.
I was smart enough to figure it out. So, okay. So I would do that. And I would whisper it over and over and over and over again before I went to sleep. And I would have a note or something external to me on the side of the bed, sometimes maybe one of those soft bracelets or something, so that it's to remind me in a very obvious way, even when I was asleep and didn't want to get up, kind of a way, that what I would do the same thing as soon as I woke up. Whisper it, and then, okay, stumble and do whatever I was doing, whatever, at night. And then I would shift it a little bit more pointedly, convincingly. So, have phrase it till finally and it didn't take all that long, because I was actually very surprised at how this changed a lot, because I didn't have to work quite so hard to remember to do it at night. I certainly didn't have to work quite so hard to get past all of the tape that had already started, breakfast going all night, to consciously whisper this in the morning. Until I got to the place where I could say, and I used to play with, I love you, I am love, and I am loved. So those three in various rotations. And
I like that. I like what you did there with that. That's good.
So I would do that before I went to bed, and then remember to do it when I woke up.
Okay.
And I remember to this day the feeling of when I woke up in the morning for the very first time. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to have any remembering. That was the first thing, as soon as, you wake up, however you're waking up, right? And that was the thought right on the top of my tongue, top of my brain, however you want to, was those three, I am love, I am loved, I love. And I remember shooting straight up in bed, and I said, oh my God. It was visceral, the amazement. And it was almost like I wanted to go back to sleep so I could see if I could do it again. So it was a process, because I had, as many people do, a lot of flotsam and jepsen and crud and glick and gluck and yuck and yick and everything in there.
Everything.
And another one was, I forgot which book I read it in. It may have been a Louise Hay book, one of her early books, of looking in the mirror and just having a conversation with your eyes, in your eyes, not your face, not your reflection, just your eyes, of I love you. And I remember, the lower mind, a big eye roll and a snore at that one. Well, I have to tell you, I put it off maybe a year here or there. I finally, just because it was...
She had a year here there.
It was stupid, or it wouldn't work, or, right? And then I made an agreement with myself that, if that's the case, we're going to absolutely do this. Like our life depended on it, like we were going to win $1 million. I gave kind of scenarios, and this is how I would have these negotiations, because I was trying to. I say I wanted to bring my ego mind into a partnership. Well, then you have negotiations. You don't, right?
Yep.
And so I set it up that we would do it for 2 weeks every night for at least, I think I did 7 minutes I played with. I just liked the 7 and it seemed divine and all that kind of stuff. So I would set a timer, and it was an old-fashioned, round thing that said plastic. And it would go tick, 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 right, So that nobody could cheat, either me or me, right, could cheat. It was
Me or me.
me or me. And it was profound. It was absolutely profound. everything changed. And it was the beginning of the demonstrable road. And I've been working on other things, a lot of things, expansion and different things, but of them sticking and jumping and quantum and leaping and bounding. And I remember without thinking about it or even having it as an intention, losing 20 some odd pounds or something. And I'd have to go back and think about all things, but everything changed. It would be a simple,
Right.
not at all stretching of any kind of thing on every level changed. So I don't have to work at it anymore. I know it, I feel it. It's palpable. Sometimes I may get in a space where it's I may let, not as much anymore, but there were times where I would let the grind or the this or that come in, and I would take a deep breath and I would hug a tree or something like that and feel that connection, and it would the tree would remind me, so.
Because the tree loves you too.
And it's, so another, again, to play with it in a simple way, what are the things that feel the most like to you, which would be, whatever you think of love is in a happy expansiveness of that, what would feel like love? Not for you, just because, God forbid we go there, just what would feel like love? What is of love? What, so, and I would play too where I was just doing stuff because I could do it at work, I could do it anywhere, soft fur is of love, a beautiful color is of love, that I would name different things. They were feelings, thoughts, emotions, concrete things, structures, people, thoughts, emotion, everything. And I was just playing with it. I wasn't attached to anything. I wasn't claiming anything. I was just playing with it. So what I was doing, I was getting the most that I possibly could in the neighborhood of the frequency of the highest expression that I could of what, and nobody else's definition mattered, it was just mine, of that. And so because of that, now I was actually pulling all of that towards me and getting a better understanding, a better feeling, a better sense, a better, clearer, and it took a while, but a clearer connection to my own sense of knowing of what that was. And I realized, well, very clearly right now, having this conversation, that was my soul's way of letting more of that flow into me without making me explode, so I could feel those things. Because as I did that, I played in the frequency neighborhood of that more often, so then I could winnow more out, and more of that would come, or I would see more clearly, or more pristinely, or more rarefied, clarified, all those different kinds of words, more purified of that. And it made all the difference in the world. It made difference in to be able to connect and communicate and converse with myself and all of me, and see things, colors, feel, sense, read energy, all sorts of things. Do I have a long way to go? You bet. If as described, this wave of the event is love, will I be lying on the floor? You bet. I'm sure I will. because like with anything else, what I know and sense and feel is enormous. It's giant. I know a lot. I have a knowing of a lot. I have direct experience of a knowing of a lot. And what I know is a few shavings on the tip of an iceberg, of the iceberg, source's iceberg, of all that there is. And I absolutely know that. but it's cool to see more all the time.
Yeah, I feel a bit at a bit of a loss for words for this, only because of my uh, inexperience, I guess, with it. Having those feelings and sensations that I had, and not even realizing that that's what that was until now. And then knowing.
Well, okay. I want to say this because I know we've kind of had this conversation a couple times about the tears. Because sometimes you'll get a comforting response when you begin to cry, because people think you're sad, or it can be confusing to people sometimes watching. I don't think the tears are in response to the feeling that you're having. And what you're having is an expansion. And the expansion is because you are that love. So as you allow more of you into you, you feel that. Okay, this came to my mind. Have you ever felt kind of sad and emotionally upset about a thing, but you're just putting your head down and, you know, your nose to the grindstone, and you're just going to work through it. You're doing something anyway. And somebody comes up to you and they put their arm around you and say, "Oh, honey, I saw what happened back there. I'm okay." And that is the moment that you fall completely apart. You crumble, you melt, because you feel the love that they have for you and that they're sharing with you, and you get overwhelmed by it. And it does me. There are times when someone's kindness or even a smile, I've had that visceral response to, and tears want to come. And I know it seems like tears should only come when you're sad. Well, I have had tears in my most joyous moment ever. So I think we need to stop equating tears even with just sadness, because really tears are emotions moving.
Well, I don't. I never have equated them with just one thing or another, because that's just how I roll.
Isn't there a phrase, your cup floweth over?
Well, that's what I was going to say. For me, the tears come. Honey, I can be.
I love that. I just got that right now.
But I'm saying in regards to me and tears are for me, it is, you're right, a flowing over, and it could be of anything.
Right, but I'm talking about the specific flowing over, from which that phrase, I'm pretty sure was in the book, you know, that it relates to just of the eyes to see and ears to hear, your cup floweth over. And that's the, you know, it's, you're the vessel.
Yeah.
You are the vessel. Your spirit, your essence within your body, within your physical vehicle is the vessel. And when you feel that, I'm talking in particular about those tears when you're on that precipice, Sheila.
Right.
That's your cup floweth over.
Yeah. Okay, and that's what I'm saying when I say, when I was getting ready to say a moment ago that I'm a bit at a loss, because these few times that we're referring to are really so I didn't know that that's what I was experiencing, was the frequency of love. That's what I'm trying to say here, because
so feel, okay, can you play for a minute then?
Say what?
Can you play for a minute?
Sure. So
feel into that feeling. You don't have to have it right this moment. You can feel into it and you'll get it pretty quick. Feel into that. And what does that feel like? Just, you can describe it if you want, but just notice it, feel it. And do whatever you need to do to, you can kind of set that feeling in your linear feeling categorization, I'm trying to say, so that when you want to play with it, or you want to bring it on, or you want to induce it to come back in, you know, maybe it's to just hold your thumb in a certain way, or you know what I'm saying? This is kind of like a placeholder reminder. When you feel that, and your cup will runneth over all the time, and it will become your new frequency set point. It will become your new neighborhood that you play in. So that would be another way to do it. Because you already know, you have a direct experience of, hell, you can go back and watch the videos.
I still haven't done that. I guess I need to.
But I'm saying those particular ones, you could, you know, I mean, we could, because it's not all the times that you've cried on camera. There's certain moments, and they're unmistakable, you know, and you could do just a short collage video of precipice of love, precipice of love, precipice of love, precipice of love, with a cool little, you know.
I wish we could edit. That would be fun.
Well, you find him and I'll make it for you.
No.
But yeah. Right? And Rosamuffin has come. She likes this.
She did.
She says, I'm purring
Best
and I
conversation
like.
ever.
So it's a very cool thing. It's an amazing feeling. You can, even if you don't understand it all, even if you don't have it all the time, you can call it forth when you want to, and you'll be doing things different times, saying things, feeling things, and there's one on camera, I don't remember exactly what it was, where it was coming, you know, at a much greater flow and level than, you know, so a big uptick, a big spike jump flowing into me when and I laughed and I said, I can't say what I'm trying to, what you're asking me to say if you guys don't tone it down a little. So there's one of me doing it on camera as well. But it does, it changes everything, and it is a really good way to help you, maybe on a linear framing, to realize what's important and what's not important, and how easy it is then to see all the other things that are illusion, that are illusory. When you feel that, you can use it as your laser beam, your X-ray vision, your however you want to hold it, for seeing the truth of what is the illusory nature of so much of what is quote unquote, you know, life and reality is not at all the case when 99 and 9/10% of it. And the beauty of it is we're on a planet that's expanding, that is in that frequency absolutely of love, and we're on her. We haven't jumped off. And we're all playing in that neighborhood, residing in that neighborhood, to various degrees of totality and fulfillment based on where we are and what we're holding as our own energy. But it's where we're going. That's why the event or any of those other things that people talk about, of, you know, expansion or physical body ascension or embodiment or actualized embody, any of those kinds of things. I just kind of said all the same thing, but they all come from you. They're all an inside job, and there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of, because it's all love. So if you thought about what you think on a linear perspective is the best, most delicious love, whatever that is, okay, that's, you know, really pale by comparison. So what's not to love about what's coming this way? However you hold whatever that nebulous thing that you don't know is love in the dark.
Wow.
And you get there by feeling, by playing with the feeling, by playing with, and remember, it's, when you're coming from, until um, until those frequency veils or lift more fully for people, you do hold it from a linear perspective, and that's what we've known, or in this time, and since that supersedes because we let it color everything else, and we don't allowing ourselves or even choosing to allow that. It's where we are all going back to, but my sense is okay, my sense that's, the construction crew is in there and the skill saws are coming in the room for the heart expansions. They just broke down 3 walls all at once. So my sense right now that I've never had so fully is that any being, wherever they reside, in whatever form, dimension, shape, frequency, that's another part of this whole all shifting expansion, that whatever, and it's going to be different depending on the expansion, whatever that cup floweth over, whatever that amount, whatever that description, whatever that, I don't even know how to describe it, whatever that amount of love or feeling of love or volume of love or flow of love or river of love or whatever, right? That is something for every being, wherever they are, in whatever frequency, dimension, capacity, you get it, right?
Yeah.
Is all up-leveling for each one above and beyond, way above and beyond that. That is part of what, I know it's so because I can feel it. But that is part of what is occurring right this moment. That is part of the shift. That's part of, it could be part of the event, however you want to describe it, but that's part of all of this. That's all flowing. That's part of the transformation. That's part of the...
That's why then. That's okay. That's why everyone that's been, all the channelings that have been coming out about this are saying that people are going to be laying flat. Because
Yes, they have.
this just came in for me that if you don't know, if you've not experienced this before, ever,
it'll knock you flat.
which I hadn't until just recently and didn't even know that's what it was. Yeah. So then we're talking flat out flat. No wonder.
Wow.
Because it is a very pale, especially when, like I said, there's my, up to this moment of now, my thoughts and feelings about love have not even come close to what love really is, not to mention what sources this love frequency that you're sharing with me, that is what I was experiencing, even unbeknownst to myself, that's what I was experiencing. So when you take an expectation, okay, or a very skewed linear representation or definition of love, and that's all you have to go on when people hear that, or not people. When I heard that, I'm like, well, okay, whatever, but been there, done that, got the t-shirt, I'm impressed.
Yeah, well, that ain't what's gonna knock you flat. So,
well, no, I'm gathering that now. That's why I'm saying I'm gathering that now. But that's why I'm saying that just came in really heavy for me. That no wonder they're saying that folks will be knocked flat.
And that's metaphoric.
No, I get that, but
so I mean, while we've been having certainly the last 5 minutes of this conversation, I could give you a linear metaphor that you've ever seen a big box truck that are, someone who's coming to do work on a house. 2 box trucks pulled up, they opened the door, they came in with skill saws and sawzalls and tools and tarps and laid them all down. And, I'm here having this conversation and they're working and cutting. They got to make the room bigger and the heart space and all that kind of stuff. And
open floor plan.
Yeah. So, and has it, had an effect on my physical linear body as far as the stretching and
yeah. It's all good.
It's all good. And that's one of the reasons that she rarely does this, but that's one of the reasons she's come here now, because she likes this energy. They know they want to play.
Yeah.
This is, to them, this is good stuff. Forget the cat treats and everything else.
Oh yeah, cats like to sit right here on me. Whether I like that or not is irrelevant. Okay, I've learned to adore it. Cats are awesome. They, dogs are too, but particularly to energy. It seems to me a dog is more forgiving, maybe, energetically, but a cat, either a cat will like you or not. Mm-hmm. Period. So they're finicky. They do like a particular energy, don't they?
Yeah, and dogs, it is not as common to see dogs that can read energy as well. Keegan is.
Oh, is that what it is? I did not know that. I thought they could.
They can, but not to the same degree. The cats, as a general, more across the board can. But Keegan's a really good example, because he can see other dogs next to him and he'll pick up on stuff that other dogs don't at all. It has nothing to do with, it's just that he can read that. So one of the things I just wanted to finish this with is it really is about playing with it, and it's really delicious. And if you don't know and you don't know how to describe it, then for you personally, what, if you were to think about, again, that same thing that we were talking about playing with in the last video, with the crayons and the words and just coming quickly with the thing. So, just really pure, delicious love. What would beauty be that? Or a melody, or, just kind of flow in things with that. And then that'll help you sort and winnow. And I know, Sheila, you've mentioned loving of music. So pick a particular, even a short segment of something in a piece of music that really does it, and turn it on outside with your feet bare in the grass and be that, and you will be surrounded and immersed in that vibration of that for you, because for you it's your conduit to starting to get on that highway, to that expansive roadway flow, right, to that. And it's going to be different for everybody, and yes, there'll be some similarities, but you know, and you are the one who can help you do that. And ask, you know, remember to go, so just see all the previous videos, but about having a conversation and really connecting. And so have conversations about this, you know, show me this, or how do I feel, or, you know, from a linear aspect is, you know, what I look at beauty or cat purring or whatever it is, and then feel it. And when you feel that, when you go, oh, wow, then that's a signal from you to you, right? That's part of the conversation. Then play with that, and play with that, and play with that, and play with that, and keep going. And so it's synchronicity and synchronicity. It's step by step. It's the last video kind of we made the other day. It's stepping stones, you know, in that path that you're going. And, you know, again, to use the linear thing that I use sometimes, you know, if you need the carrot, if you need the payoff, if you need, well, it'll change everything. And it's the most amazing thing that you've ever felt. And you won't care about this, that, or the other thing, because you realize those are all illusory. And this is, you know, the bazillion dollars. This is, you know, that guy or that gal or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a frequency vibration that you flow in, that you be, that you can reside in, which changes the color, fragrance, scent, connection with everything else. And so then you start to get the richness of those other things. Then you get the true pristine nature of all those other things, because now they're not illusory anymore. They actually are created by you and pulled in from, not in the false construct, but in the true creation sense that you've pulled in the physical. And don't try to understand this video, feel this video. Because that's what it's about. You can't think.
Yeah, that's normally hard for me, but not in this one. Not in this one.
Right now, you're just breathing with this right now. Your breath, the syncopation of your breath has changed, and that your soul keeps breathing in more of that love threshold, that which was before was a wow, right? And it's flowing in more and up loving. And so the syncopation of your breath has changed. I'm watching you with that flow. And so more can come in, and it's more of just is. It's more of just the norm. So it's flowing, and it ebbs out a little, and then you syncopate your breath with that. So this is love. You are love, and you be love right this moment. You're doing a bang-up job of doing it right on camera.
She always does.
Well, why? Okay, so all of a sudden, I thank you for that, but all of a sudden there was a little tinge of I'm not worthy in there. What in the hell is that? Is that just...
That's not being vigilant, and don't even play with it. Don't even choose to play. It's choosing.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I absolutely appreciate you showing that, so that I can remember to choose, so that I can remember to be vigilant, and that we're partners, but my heart leads the show. So thank you. And part of that too, I would guess because you were in a lovely flowing with the syncopation of your breath and all that, you could feel it. I was just describing what you were already feeling.
Yes, you were.
And so there was a testing. Is she going to go smarmy? Is she going to go smarmy?
Ah.
Is she gonna smarmy? No, you did a little bit. You thought about it. You looked. Okay, you looked. Made you look.
Yeah, made me look, not so much anymore. Thank you very much.
But see, that's how all of this goes because there's another wave about to come in now that you kind of passed that test. So
Am I scared now?
no. Well, so think of it. Remember on the last video we just did about the energies of equinox coming tomorrow, right? And you said, well, it's a cool video. So you did what you described, but I don't feel what Lisa was describing. Well, now this is the jump. So that's
my lips are buzzing again all of a sudden. So okay.
ta-da!
Yeah. Ta-da! Okay. Wow.
And for your next trick.
Yeah.
The cartwheels.
Again, I know that there are people there would be people that would pay money to see that happen. You know, people who've known me all my life, you know. Wow, y'all.
Let's put out a show.
This one again was not what I expected.
It was wonderful.
Yes. Thank you both so much.
Oh, thank you. I just sat here.
You just no, you didn't. You did more than that. You always do more than that. I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah.
That was her smarmy talking.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. At least you know you have one. I'm not the
Well,
only
he can't get much of it word in edgewise, so he's got to chime in with a little ping now and then, just
There you go.
So at least you can say, I got on video.
That's right, darling.
Well, ladies, wow.
Yes.
Okay, so
Usual stuff in the usual places.
yes.
Love you.
Love you all very much.
We'll do this again soon.
Yeah, we'll do this again real soon.